Well, Jibby, we are here.
We're here.
So happy. It's great to see you.
Good to see you too.
And so you are going to where and when and for what?
Yes, so I am going to the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, LAMDA, in September for my MFA in professional acting.
Unbelievable. Well, very believable, actually. Uh, you have been a fantastic, I don't need to tell you, but for everyone listening, a fantastic actor, super committed to the craft. We're going to talk about your experience level because I was super inspired by your work, and it's not like you had tons of formal training or anything like this, right? So why don't we just start right there? Because we already know how it ends in the happy ending. But
Yeah.
if we go back to like what did you get you have your bachelor's degree. What did you get your bachelor's degree in, and how did you get to a point where you wanted to audition for drama school?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my bachelor's degree in computer science and business from Carnegie Mellon University. And yeah, I have been actually an engineer for the last 7 years and have pivoted completely. And it's been such a journey. I feel like the pandemic really taught me a lot about myself and what was important to me. And if I wanted to spend the rest of my life doing this sitting in front of a computer every day, day after day, and I really just like tapped into what I wanted to do in my life. And I've always been super invested in acting. Like one of my earliest memories, I should have brought the picture out and like showed you, but like one of my earliest memories is literally me being the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz. And I was like 5 years old. And from there on, like I was just in love with acting and had always done it in school productions. But when I got to Carnegie Mellon, obviously it's a really great drama school as well, as it's very well known for computer science and drama. And
Oh yeah.
so I went there. I think it was my sophomore year where I was like, I think I want to do acting. And I actually applied to audition for their School of Acting for my BFA
While you were there?
while I was there.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Did you
Yeah.
see like the performers there, and were you
Yeah.
inspired? Or
I was friends with a lot of the actors. Obviously, like freshman year, we're all kind of really integrated. After that, they really do get secluded and they really they stay in like the School of Drama area. So I was inspired by so many of the peers that I had that were at school there. And I also another moment of just like, what do I really want for my life? But I'm also the child of a Nigerian, and you're either a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a failure. So I didn't even get to audition for the School of Drama when I applied because I was basically told, like, and it was like told, but not explicitly told to my mom. Would be like, no, I never said that. But like, it was implied that she would not be paying for my schooling if I did not go to school for something that would get me a degree and make me money immediately after college. So I went with computer science and business, and it was crazy. It was like a day, specifically a day that I had to choose between going to this audition and going to like office hours for my computer science class to make sure I didn't fail this class. And so in the end, it all worked out because
wow, yeah,
literally we're here now.
that
And
is right.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is incredible. What an incredible story. And you obviously, well, I would love to actually have a whole nother conversation with you about like the benefits of having a different bachelor's, pros and cons, and it's just how
Sure.
life kind of works out. You had a professional experience in a completely unrelated field, and it definitely informed your acting, you
Yeah.
know, in certain ways. But now you're getting to dive in. We'll have that conversation another time. But you are just diving in. So, Lambda, are you excited?
I am so excited. I can't tell you. I've been like grinning ear to ear ever since I got the call. And it's just like, even getting the call, that whole story was just like crazy, a whole
Tell
saga
me,
in and
tell
of
me.
itself.
What was it
Well,
like?
Yeah, so I was waiting to hear back from a couple of schools, and at this point I was like, you know what, I'm this is like the first time I'm doing this. I know that people do rounds of this. Like, it's okay if I don't hear back from all the schools that I want to. Like, and so I'd like written in my notes, like, if I don't get into drama school, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna reach out to these people. I'm gonna like recognize that it's okay. I'm gonna like go on a gratitude walk. I'm just gonna like, I'm gonna be okay. And so I was just like fully
You
preparing
are, yeah.
mentally to not get in. And then and so it's just like going through my routine, and I was at the gym, and I looked at my phone, and I'd gotten this missed call from England, and I was just like, no, but I can't get my hopes up. Like, I've been getting a ton of spam calls. But I want to call them back. My phone service doesn't have international calling. And so then I like looked up how to call a number
My
back for
gosh.
international calling. I was like, how do I call them back? Like, what do I do? And it was like literally minutes before. So I was like, I could call them back and they'll pick up. They're still awake over there. Like but again, not thinking too far ahead if it's school or not. I just couldn't even go there. And I'm like, I try to sign up for like a Google Voice number, and they don't do international calling. And then I call a neighbor, and I'm like, hi, are you home? Do you have international calling? She's like, I don't actually know. If you want, you can like come and try, like, try and call my phone. And I was like, I run downstairs and I take her phone, and I like call this number back, and I say hello, and they're like, it's Lambda. And I gave her my phone, and I was like, record this.
Do you
And
have the recording?
yeah, so I have the
Oh, that's
recording.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And oh my gosh, it was just like you could just see everything happening on my face, like the moment that I'm listening, because I don't know if they call people for rejections either. So I'm just like holding my breath until they literally say the words. And I am jumping up and down, screaming. And then by the end, she's like, oh, do you have any questions? And I literally am like a blank face. I just like, I'm smiling, I'm crying. I'm just like, I don't think I have any questions right now. My brain is like empty. And then we hang up, and I literally just fall to the ground and start sobbing. I'm just sobbing. It was just like, oh, it was such a relief. I
Oh
just
my gosh.
gosh, all this work since September, and I'd gotten this call like March 26th, 28th or something like that. And so I just been working this whole time and really just like holding my breath for something to change in my life. And I got that call, and it was just,
That was incredible. You went out and got that call.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
That's such a great, I never heard that. I obviously got the exciting call afterwards from you, but
Yeah.
no, that's such a great story. Man, I can feel it. I can totally feel the drama, the holding of the breath. I get it. Well, so cool. Where do we start? You talked about September to March, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So, what was your mindset? Some people don't know, especially first time auditioning. Some people don't necessarily have an idea of how a preparation process looks. Uh,
Yeah.
Maybe they have the best intentions, but you could run east looking for a sunset.
Right.
So tell us, like, what was your impression of how you were going to prepare, and then how did that evolve as the preparation process went on?
Yeah, absolutely. So luckily, one of my best friends, she is in grad school now, and like her TA role is to help people submit applications for grad school. It's more technical. She's in like psychology. But she was like, hey, I can give you like write up a draft for you of like all the steps you need to take. So I had a timeline of everything. She just looked at like, I don't know, I think it was like Juilliard's site and a couple of other sites, just to have like dates set of like, by this time you need to have your essay written, by this time you need to have this done and get your recommendations, so make sure to reach out to this person at this time. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to like understand that this is important. I need to like start doing this and get on my schedule, because I know I would like leave things until the last minute, but she like gave me dates way ahead of time to do. And so I was like, okay, I really need to make sure I'm on top of this. And I was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I'm so grateful for her for even just like these time frames and this guideline, but like I don't know like how to even choose a monologue, like what to do, where to go. And so I just Googled, I literally Googled, and I was like, how to get into drama school, literally. and like you
That's
popped up because I was just like, I'm an engineer, like my mind is just like very regimented. I need like steps to take, and I didn't really know exactly what those steps were going to be. And so yeah, actually it's finding you, and I actually got another coach through that Google search, and so I signed up with two coaches, you and that was like such a huge relief for me to like be like, okay, here's something. And I remember one of our first emails, you like sent me a bunch of different monologues I could start looking up, and I was like, whoa, this is real. I actually have to like go and do some research and figure out what it is that I want to, what resonates with me the most, and what I want to put my heart and soul into, that's going to share for 2 minutes with these people
right.
who
I,
I
and
am.
I, yeah, absolutely. And I want to say to the audience, like, your when we first met Jibby, her like the attitude was so clearly motivated. That's like she was one of us. Like the mindset was so committed, the mindset, and she was very honest and transparent about like, having this dream but not having tons of experience, having experience in another field. All that was super like okay because what she want like in her heart, like she was committed to becoming a better actor. She wasn't thinking, oh, this is going to make me famous, or oh, this is just about getting on stage and looking pretty, or like whatever. It's like I can like you just said, what monologue is going to help me share myself. And we'll talk about the coaching a little bit too, but like as you improved your pieces, it would just became more Jibby, more Jibby just came out more and more, and it was just really, really cool. So anyway, monologues. How did you find your monologues? You read my list. I had a list of some monologues, yes. And
Yeah. Yeah, and just to tap on what you just said, like I think the biggest thing to me was that I had let go of my dream already like years before, and finally coming back to something that I recognized was like, this is my dream, this is my heart and soul, like regardless of where it goes, like me just taking these steps is so in line with where I know I'm meant to be. And so that I just wanted to like also reiterate that like in just this whole process as being like regardless of where it ends up, it's about the journey. It's about like these steps. That's what, like, I've already made it because I've taken these steps, as opposed to giving up on myself and going into the whatever direction I was going before. Yeah.
lovely, absolutely, so true. So thank you for sharing that. All right, so now you're in it. You're in the
Oh,
mud. You got to
yeah.
get through. What are you liking the progress you're making, or tell us kind of what you came across and how it.
Yeah. So I remember reading through a couple of monologues, and I had applied for a couple of like local conservatories and had picked random things, and I remember I came to you with Fool for Love by Sam Shepard, and that was something I was like, ooh, okay, this is resonating here. I think I like this, and it feels aligned with what I can bring to the piece. And then the others, I was just kind of like, I have no idea. I don't know any Shakespeare at all. And so I started reading like a different play every couple like every few days, every couple of weeks. I was just like, okay, I need to like understand. I didn't read a ton, I'll say, but I read the ones that I was interested in. I was like, okay, I need to read the whole context so I know if this is something I can really bring to life. And so that was really helpful as well. It was work, but I was just like, all right, this is literally what I'm going to put my heart and soul into for the next 6 months. Like any work that I need to do for it, like I'm just gonna do it. So yeah, it was taking time to read those, and then what kind of bubbled to the top was Comedy of Errors, Luciana, and Merchant of Venice, Portia, Merchant of Venice.
Those were awesome. I loved all three of these pieces that you've
Really?
mentioned so far. You have not mentioned your fourth one yet,
Yes.
but um, yes, they were perfect for you. You
Mm,
know,
mhm.
and I want to just kind of make it clear that it sounds like what you were looking for while you were reading was something that you connected with, but also something that you could really deliver on. You could really you could make others connect with.
Yeah. I think I was looking for a bit of myself in these pieces. Like, what could are these words truthful to where I am now? Like, what I could say. And obviously, acting isn't like, everything is truthful to where you are. But for these pieces in particular, I wanted it to be not such a long shot from where I was so I could
Yeah.
show, you know.
Exactly. That's a unique aspect of these drama school auditions as opposed to like a professional audition, in that you get to choose the material and it's kind of an audition not for that role. It's an
Mhm.
audition. You're using the material to showcase kind of who you are as an artist,
Right,
the
exactly.
voice, the instrument, and sort of you're auditioning kind of for like a training relationship as
Mhm.
opposed to just like you're going out for Fool for Love.
Right, exactly. So there was no right way to do it as opposed to like, am I authentically showing the most of me, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So with my last piece, it was my last contemporary piece. So I chose two heightened texts, two contemporary, and so it was Comedy of Errors, Merchant of Venice, Fool for Love, and for colored girls who have considered suicide, Lady in Red. Yeah.
Time, big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
You
that was
know,
my my
I want to
power.
just, yeah, big time. Well, all of these were really, really bold choices. I wish people could see your work because I admired your bold choices so much. You were not afraid, you
Thank
know?
you.
And sometimes when I felt, or when any of our coaches or whoever worked with you was like, okay, what if we tried to go a little bit further, right?
Mm.
Imagine XYZ. You were just like, cool. It was just like Jibby was game to like make bigger, bolder choices, and still stay connected to like this backbone of truth. So these were pretty epic choices. Why did I bring that up? Oh yeah, because I want to talk about like the balance you could like. How do you find the balance between like what you were talking about of having it be something that you connect with and all that stuff, and the need for those circumstances, which are like intense and hugely dramatic. How did you stay true to yourself even when trying to like did you find yourself like reaching for those circumstances? Did you find trying to bring the circumstances down to you but still keep the stakes high? Tell us about that tightrope.
Ooh, yeah, okay. So if I'm understanding, like, how did I find the balance between like keeping it true to myself, but also making the reality in the text real?
Exactly.
Yeah, so oof, so how did I do that? I think some of it came naturally because I really wanted to be intentional with those texts and like make sure that they resonated kind of naturally, but also like they weren't exactly the same things that have happened to me. And so there was a background of creating history and maybe like calling them baited hooks in different points in the text that were like like landmines, and when you hit them that would bring something, that would ignite something in me. And
Tell me,
so
go ahead,
yeah.
go ahead.
Mhm. Yeah, so like for instance, with Fool for Love, there were a couple of moments that were like crack open moments. They were definitely like it was like a hard piece, and I would show a lot of emotion, but it was restrained emotion. And so there were moments where I would say something, and that was like a moment where there was some vulnerability that would break open. And so I would find whatever that vulnerability, like how that related to me, and really just like kind of create that landmine for me. So when I said those words, that ignited something in me that made it true for that circumstance and that character, but also it resonated so much with me. Does that make sense? I don't know if that
Yeah,
makes
100%. No, I was like wanting you to just elaborate, and you did. Yeah, for sure. Like, every artist has their own kind of way of explaining it, but I think that
yeah,
was beautifully said. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, because you're so, when I met you and when we talk, not working, you're just, easy to talk to, approachable, and then all of a sudden we're doing Fool for Love and we're doing Lady in Red and you're running all over the room and you're the volume. I mean, it's dynamics are so you just were willing to step into the imaginary world fully.
Mhm.
And I just give credit to you and for everyone out there too. It's just imagination. you know?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
allowing yourself to play.
I think that's really it. It's like allowing myself. I think that something that's so beautiful about acting is like these stakes are what we're finally doing what we as a human have always wanted to do or say, but we never get to the chance to because we're trying to be like a normal human being, not blowing our top off. But in these moments, we get to. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I get to like yell and scream at somebody who's imaginary, like, and not hurt somebody's feeling on the other side of this. Heck yeah, like give me the opportunity to do that, you know? Like I'm gonna rip them apart, but that's
Yeah.
imaginary. It's not a real person. So
Great. It's fantastic.
yeah.
You know, that's definitely part of the allure of acting for sure. But it's also the allure for audiences to come watch actors. As you may have heard me say, you know, actors are brave for that reason. We go, wow, they're saying things that I wouldn't dare say, or they're
Right.
going through something that I don't really feel comfortable going through. So we get to kind of watch these courageous acts uh,
Yeah.
of like, wow, you know, that's how it played out for that person. You know, that's really interesting. So anyway, okay,
One
so
other thing that I'll say that helped to answer your like original question was that I also wrote histories of these fictional characters. And so I wrote down a little bit of like what happened before this, what were the moments before, what was the day, the week, the month, like the relationship with the person that they were talking to, and creating that so that that felt more real and it wasn't just this isolated circumstance, you know? And so
yeah.
that helped a lot too to bring life to it.
Now,
Yeah.
where did you learn that?
Um,
Get a
where did
tip
I
on that, or
learn?
did you just how did you come across that?
So I've been in like a couple of like once a week 3 hour acting classes, and there's this one girl in my class, and anything that is ever said in the acting class for the entire 3 hours, she is jotting notes, and like no one else is doing this, but I was just like, she's doing something that none of us are doing, and her craft is different. And I was like, I don't know if I'm quite on that level, but there's something there. And so then I met up with her, I talked to her, and I loved what like that there was so much history being built there. And our acting teacher would always tell us to make sure that there was history built. And so actually writing it out, not just thinking of it, was like a new thing for me. But I was like, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try and bring this to life and see what that does. And I think it informed in a new way these characters. And then you know what? I did watch an interview from Viola Davis, and I remember it was I forgot the name of the movie, but it was with Liam Neeson, I think. And she was doing an interview, and they were like, "How did you bring these characters to life and create this relationship?" And Liam was like, "Yeah, I just do it." And Viola Davis was like, "Oh, I went in depth, and I created so much life there and so much history, and you don't see all of that like necessarily on the screen, but you see the fruit of that on the screen, you know?" And so it's just, I think it was just like taking in from all of these different people around me and then trying to bring that to life because I haven't had that professional training, you know?
You know, if you guys aren't taking notes while Jibby's talking, you got a problem because seriously, the dedication is on display. This is exactly what I mean. Like, she was not letting anything go to waste. She
Mhm.
notices something about a classmate who she respects. She asks her out for coffee, right? I want to get 5 minutes with you or whatever. Tell me about this. She's picking up everything she can. She's not resting on her laurels. She's like hungry to become a better artist. And not only like, who knows if the history thing that you learned, who knows if that would have actually like worked for your craft? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe
Mhm.
it kind of leads you down a dead end and it kind of brings your work to like a stale position. Whatever, you're still willing to give it a shot to see, like you said, if it can inform me, if it can inform the work in a productive way. So just kudos, just awesome. I just hope that people are picking up what you're putting down. Okay, so we're working on these pieces. Let's talk, you know, it's been all roses up to the, you know, we're having a conversation. It seems like it's all just perfect for you, but it wasn't, right? We had well, why don't you were there any doubts that crept in throughout the process? Was there a dark cloud period where were you considering giving up any of these pieces? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Ooh, okay. So I will say, so I have a manager and I live in LA and I've been trying to get work. I got this manager right as the strike started happening, the writer strike and then the actor strike. And so I wasn't getting a ton of work happening. And so it gave me time to really put my all into these pieces. And so as I was starting to tell people in the industry, like, yeah, I'm applying for drama schools and trying to, go into a conservatory. A lot of managers were like, skip that, don't do that. And I was just getting a lot of negative feedback that you're gonna be wasting your time. It's not necessary. And it was hard to hear that because I was like, well, am I gonna spend a couple of years, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, like, wasting my time like they're saying? And it wasn't a good feeling. It wasn't like, oh, and so I started getting nervous. And I don't remember if I told you or my other coach, I was like, maybe I don't need to go. Maybe I don't need to do this because I have a reel, I have a manager, like that's what people go to school to get, right? At the other side of things. But I think I needed to go through that process of hesitation and people telling me like, no, you shouldn't be doing this, for me to rededicate myself to the process and say like, actually, no, I'm not going to school to get a reel and a manager on the other side of it. That's not why. Like, I am going so that I can be a better actor. I know I can get roles and book things now, but I would be a lesser version of what I want to be. And I want the training. I want to trust myself to show up at 100 every single time. And I might be 100 one time, but then I might show up like 50% the next time because I just don't trust myself in the process, right? And so just taking the time out to really dedicate myself to the craft and the training is something that I wanted to recommit myself to. And it's not for everyone. I recognize that going to drama school isn't for everyone. And so I needed to make that decision for myself, even with having people tell me like, no, not necessary for you. And I was just like, actually it is for me, it's right for me. And getting in has showed me that like, yes, it is right for me. Like if I didn't, then I would have been like, okay, that's just a sign that it's not meant for me and I'm going to move on and do it, or maybe I'll reapply, who knows. But like I'm taking it as it goes. And I just doubled down in the training and just did everything that I could to just like make sure that this was the right choice for me.
And it was, I mean, man, I love that story. I did not know that. I think I might remember some hesitation, but it was much more potent, I think, as if you experienced it. What I was gonna say was sometimes when we are challenged by either our friends or our family, it gives us the opportunity to kind of look in the mirror, and have that gut check and be like, hey, am I making this decision or am I just being floated towards this because other people have, and you really, not that you were being peer pressured before, but the fact that you got challenged and then you got to have that, moment in the mirror. Yeah, like you said, you just doubled down and you worked even harder. And it was just like the focus is so strong. Love
Thanks.
it.
Thank
Uh,
you.
and as cliche as this sounds, like you had a why, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
I was crystal clear on my why, and it was a lot of the things you said was about consistency in my quality of work, being able to feel confident with any material that I got, film, television, theater, classic, modern, whatever, even creating original material. I wasn't very confident with a lot of that different stuff. If it wasn't just like a typical play, I wouldn't know how to necessarily approach it. So I needed to go to drama school and feel more confident with a lot of those things. And obviously, your instrument, your voice, and what the demands of the play are, the demands of the project. How do you use your voice in the optimal way? Yada yada.
Yeah, I always say that like you can or there I think there's like a study or something about like being an expert, you spend 10,000 hours doing something. And I was like, I don't want to spend 10,000 hours practicing at a mediocre level. I want to spend 10,000 hours, and not to say that I was mediocre at the time because I got in, but But
Your
being
process, you're talking about having a process.
yes, being surrounded by experts who can show me that process and tap into what I've already have and grow into that. Because I don't think drama school, they're breaking you down and creating this whole new version of you. Like you're already good. That's like why you've gotten in, but there's a level of like consistency that you get and the process that you get that you can tap in and know that like, oh, I've got this play coming up, this movie, this TV show, this everything, and I can do all I can trust myself to do it all, right? Like I'd gotten an opportunity to apply to audition for something, and I didn't trust myself and I turned it down because I was just so scared that I couldn't measure up to what they were asking of me to be like the lead of something. And I was just like, oh, and I kick myself for it, but I also just it wasn't the right time for me. I wasn't ready for it. And so I'm really excited to come out on the other side recognizing like, oh, my craft is so strong and I trust myself with like anything that is thrown at me, you know?
I love that. Yeah. And you will. Oh my gosh. You'll be the opposite. I love that story. You're gonna look back at that story and it's gonna be part of your overall success story. Because like I was in the final running for like an ABC pilot once, and it was for the lead, and it was like $30,000 a week and yada yada. My whole point is with all that, not to brag, I'm just saying the
Correct.
material was like, oh God, this material. Like it was not something I was intimidated by at all. It was the opposite. It was more like this is, I have to make this interesting for myself.
Right,
So
right.
you have to kind of create complexity sometimes when the material is, whatever, not great.
Yeah, right, right.
So yeah, you will be super confident in handling all different types of things. Speaking of what you get at Lambda. Lambda's on the rise.
Yeah.
We won't have like a Lambda, we'll throw a couple flowers at Lambda. Uh, but like they have a new motion capture studio where you get to do like a film project with this cool thing. They have they just have a lot of really good resources and a lot of good like leadership. What did you get from Lambda while you were auditioning for them? What kind of vibes? Tell us about, why you're excited.
Yeah, so Lambda, I had heard about Lambda like 2 years prior, and like one of my friends had gotten in, and I was just like, wow, he's really good. Why would he want to go to school when he's already so good? I've seen him and stuff. I've seen his work. He's like getting work. Why would he want to go? And so I asked him, and I was like, why would you want to do that? And he's like, where I want to be, the people who have gone before me have done this, and I could keep doing what I'm doing and stay at the level that I'm at, but I know that I want to get that extra push. I don't want to be just good. I want to be really great. And so it's like, oh. And that hit me where I was like, wow, okay. And I started looking up about Lambda and I was like, oh, interesting. Okay. Like, oh, who's gone there? All right, that's good to know. And then that actually got me, and that was 2 years ago. Ever since, every time I watch something, I go and look up their Wikipedia page and I like go research like everything about their history and like where they've gone to school and what they've done. And I'm recognizing this pattern of seeing like a lot of people who actually gone to school for it. And I was like, oh, I didn't actually know that. I didn't realize it. And there are tons of people who have also not gone to school. So it's just, again, there's no one right way to do things. But a lot of the people that I respected had. And so I was like, okay, like that's an option. And then another one of my friends from college who, it's so crazy, she also went to Carnegie Mellon, not for acting, and now she's starring in one of the Bridgerton and like one of the leads in that. And she went to Lambda, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm hearing this school so much now. And so I was just like, okay, this is definitely on like one of my like my reach options for school, but and it was the only school that I applied to that was outside of the country, so I was super nervous about moving across the world, but but I'm now just like I'm so excited to start this whole new life in London and be like in the West End and experience London theater and just be immersed. It's a city school, so it's really just immersed in everything out there, and so I'm just like, oh wow, I get to experience something so new, and it's going to be like
Yeah.
drastically different from LA and the industry here. So yeah, I might be
Well, you're in that
bi-continental one day.
such a great story. Like, living there. Yeah, you're right. The life experience. And it is. I mean, you're right there next to the Tate Museum, all these great, great landmarks. So the education is definitely in the school, but there's also an education just living in London, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know you'll have a blast. That is so fun. Such a life change.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge. Like everything in my life is changing. I gotta sell all my plants.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. That's a lot of plants. How are you gonna
it's a
do
lot of plants. I'm gonna have a plant pop-up shop and just invite all my friends and come buy them.
Genius, genius. Maybe the you can do like a monologue for them or something. Uh, just this is where these are the plants that were in the same room as when I got into Lambda.
Mhm, yeah.
Uh, all right, cool. So speaking of in the room,
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh
oh,
my gosh.
the
I'm sorry.
audition.
I went on a way other
No, we've
tangent. I
said
didn't even answer your question.
no, you have. This has been so fabulous. But now let's talk about what happened in the room. So,
Right.
um, what was your experience with Lambda? Initial
Yeah.
audition, callbacks. Tell us what they asked of you and what you did in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Okay. So I had initially auditioned with Rodney. So and I think yeah, the primary auditions are usually in LA, San Francisco, and New York, I believe. And so I was auditioning here in LA at I think it was a UCLA. And I go in and they wanted heightened text and contemporary. And so I auditioned with Luciana first, and then I did for Colored Girls. And and initially Rodney goes, do you have another one? And I was like, oh my God. And I just finished my last two, and I was just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so then I did Merchant of Venice, Portia, and he gave me a feedback on Portia, and I was like, absolutely, totally. And I think it was I was saying I was emphasizing in too much, and so it was just like he was like, you're not tapped into this one, and I really wasn't. He really like was spot on with what I was doing, because like Luciana and for Colored Girls, I felt like I gave my all. And I think it was my second audition out of all of the schools. I think I applied to like eight, nine schools. And so it's just my second audition. So I was like, I'm just getting like the wheels turning here. And so I was so nervous. And then when I got this feedback from him, I was just like to do a third one. I was already like out of my element, and I just like kind of like put Portia on, just kind of like, I hope he likes it. And then I sat down and we started chatting, and I was like, so how are the first two? And he was like, oh, they're great. You were connected and everything. It was, and so he was like, and then with Portia, you needed this, and this, but that's why you're coming to drama school. And I was like, yeah. And so it was just like, okay, like getting that positive affirmation. And you don't always get that. Like in the room, I was in a lot of audition rooms. I did not always get positive affirmation. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. And having that from him, like even having the space for me to ask, I don't think that there were a lot of schools that like let me sit down and talk to them in the first audition. And so there was just like this personable experience that I got with Rodney. And then so then I got the call back a few weeks after that. And I was just like, oh, I don't know if he actually liked me or not. Like, we'll see. And then I got the call back and I texted you. I was like, oh my gosh, I got it.
Caps.
Yes, all caps. I was like, "Ah." And then the second time they were actually saying that they used to have people fly out to London for the callbacks, which is crazy. Um, and I don't think they're like sponsoring that too. Like you got to figure out your way to get there. And so they were like, yeah, it's just a bit unreasonable to ask everybody to fly out there for a callback. So we're gonna come back to LA. So we go back to LA. I go to UCLA, and it's pouring rain, and I meet Rodney outside, and he's like, good to see you. He remembers me. I'm like, oh my gosh, yay. And so I was just feeling good beforehand. I'd gone through a bunch of auditions at that point, so I was just feeling so much more secure in my craft. And actually it was the same weekend as another school, and I had to leave, and it was a weekend audition or a callback for USC. And so I had to leave that one early to go to Lambdas. And so I was like, oh, I hope this doesn't affect it. I hope I'm like not out of my element.
Good
But it
problem
was,
to have.
what did you say?
Good problem to have.
It was actually, I felt like I'd gotten a lot of warm up from like being at a previous audition and then coming into another one. I was like already like in the play mode. And they had asked us to prepare a duologue, is what they call them, and that there was going to be a grad student in the room who was going to read with us. And so it was, you had a bunch of options, and I did Rabbit Hole. And that, yeah, I with yeah, it was Becca from Rabbit Hole. And so I was preparing that, and then I think in the room I had auditioned with Luciana and For Colored Girls again, and then they asked me to do Rabbit Hole with the grad student that was there, and he was like American grad student, so got to like, you know, just hear a little bit about his experience. And then we did that, and they asked for a note, and I had actually prepped with a couple, but at this point for callbacks I wasn't doing coaching with anybody, and so you were just like birdie fly, you're good, you like, you know, if you've gotten your callbacks, you're great. And so I was like, okay, like I want to practice this. And so I got some active friends and did a couple of runs, and I got some notes to be like, oh, maybe do it this way instead. And so I'd done it one way and then switched it. And then it was funny because in the audition, they asked me to switch it back to like the way I originally. But I don't think that they were looking for a right way. They just really wanted to know that I could take notes and really change it, that I wasn't locked in to the way that I'd practiced it. And so I think that even if I'd started one way, they would have asked for a different way, and just to see that I could take feedback. And I changed it drastically. I did something completely different than I did before. It's the same words. And yeah, we just like played for a little bit, got some notes on Luciana as well, and played with that one. And again, I don't think they were looking for the right thing. They just wanted to see more of me in a different element and that I could take feedback. And so that
And
was,
you know, thank you for sharing that too, because that just lands home that point that we always tell you and that we always tell everybody, which is like, you know, the quality of work is number one, but the second most important thing is the ability to take direction. You know, and they really want to see that you're someone who wants to play,
yeah,
wants to explore every facet of this piece. Maybe there's something you didn't see that they see that could unlock the piece further.
right.
To have an attitude of willingness and readiness to discover that is really something that's very attractive about applying, people who are applying. So you obviously did that beautifully because you got great coaching. Um, but and you really were. I mean, I was always impressed with your work, but also like with Shakespeare in particular, we had a lot of fun with the Luciana piece, and um, you know, you were really playing with a lot of different options. So, like, what gave you, you know, without much Shakespeare experience, if at all, how did you handle the beast that sometimes is the scary Shakespeare?
I watched a lot of YouTube videos on Shakespeare. I read a lot of Shakespeare. I practiced it, so the words were so easy, and the meanings behind them. I researched a lot about the text, particularly, and what they meant. Every word that I didn't understand, especially the pronunciations, because something could enthroned is, it's read enthroned, but you pronounce it enthroned. And so just all of those things that I didn't know to know before, like I made sure that all of that was researched, and I'd gotten that ahead of time. And so that I was like, okay. And obviously you would like correct me if I'd said something, and the first couple of times were pretty rough, and then, you know, I got into the flow of it. And then yeah, it was really about getting a phrase and then reiterating what that phrase was in my own words, like basically going through the whole monologue and saying it in my own words, and making sure that I had the meanings behind it, so that even if I'm changing the way that I'm saying it, I'm still saying the same, like in my head, I know what I'm saying, you know, why I'm saying it. So that helped a ton. And then just like going it's like floor to ceiling, doing the craziest bit of it, just like really going all out and being like, this is never something I will perform for people, you know, like an actual room of auditioners, but I will go just like out of my mind with like how expressive I can. And then
Right.
also like, you know, like get the bare minimum and then see those discoveries. Like what did I discover when I did it that way? And how can I bring that into like this middle ground where I'm super grounded, but I'm still keeping it alive and keeping that meaning alive for me, you know?
Yes, that is a great way to put it. That was kind of also the answer, a great answer to that previous question I had, which was like, how did you balance the integrity of the text and what the text is calling for with, I love that too, because I did that a ton. I would over dramatize or sort of melodramatic performance just in my own, so no one else could see it. But like I had to just go beyond the line of realism and just so I could find the where I could push the envelope,
Right,
because
right.
sometimes in those larger interpretations or run throughs, you'd actually discover something that you could keep.
Yeah,
You're like, oh,
yeah.
yeah, this can handle it. I can handle
Right,
the
and I would discover like a different way. Like I didn't know that I was saying it in that way, but when I did it this way, like it has a whole new meaning, you know?
yeah,
And then letting the meaning inform the way that I did it the next time, you know?
yeah, yeah. That's so awesome. Okay, cool. So the callback went well, and was that it? And then you were just waiting for the call after that? I mean, so how did you feel
Yeah.
all of the auditions with Lambda? Like, did you feel like you kind
Yeah.
of left it all out there? Did you feel good? Did you feel
I felt so good. I was like, you know, I gave them my all, and if it's something that they want, I I'm gonna be so excited. But if not, like it's not personal. All of it, like all of these schools, I got rejections, I got acceptances, and like all of it, I recognize is that they are looking for something so particular. Like everybody who went through these auditions, like a lot of them, I'm sure, are so incredible. Like I saw somebody who's like got a Hulu show and he was auditioning for like in the audition rooms, like with me, and I was just like, I'm going up against what? But like, and I saw that like not everybody got callbacks. Like I don't think that he got like a first callback, but not a second callback. And so it's just so crazy to be like, wow, these people are incredible. Like some people are already working, and it's not a personal thing. It's not about you as an actor. It's about what they're looking for specifically to make their cohort. So if I'm giving them my all and they're like, hey, maybe next time, I'm like, that's okay. I'm not going to take it personally. And so it's just about finding, it's almost like dating. You only need one yes. And like you just need one person to say yes to you and commit to you and say, like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And so I was just like waiting for somebody to tell me that like I am exactly what they're looking for. And I got that from Lambda.
it? Oh my God, I love that. Great analogy. Yeah, and it's true. Like when you are putting yourself out there for drama schools, you're never going to get that yes if you try to control it or if you try to put a mask on, right? Would you agree that you really shared yourself and that's how it is. I know people who have watched these conversations before with our clients who have gotten all these schools. They all of you guys are saying the same thing, which is whether I would have gotten in or not, it was such a fun time and it was such a valuable process for my growth as an actor overall.
Yeah.
Because why? You put yourself out there. And that exercise of like working on something and discovering and exploring and then just sharing,
Yeah.
that's fruitful for your journey, no matter what happens.
Absolutely. I grew so much as an actor through that whole process. Like as grueling as it was to have like, oh my gosh, I spent like 9 months of my life in this process. If I don't get in, like, oh, that's hard. But like also I did so much. I invested financially into myself, hiring coaches, and like I've never had like a one-on-one coach. And so it was such a different experience than just being in these classes where you're surrounded by, 12, 15 other students, and you're getting like maybe 5 minutes of isolated time from your acting teacher. Having like 1 hour, and I had 2 hours every week with coaches, like that was so valuable for my growth as an actor. I was like, regardless of what happens, like this was so valuable, and I'm really happy I did it. And now it informs how I want to move forward and how much I want to invest myself time-wise, financially, all of it. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. Please keep giving us more compliments. So like what was the best coaching session you had? Or no, seriously though, like reflect on either a light bulb moment you had or an unexpected moment of like transformation with one of the pieces, or maybe just a really tough moment in one of the sessions that you remember? Any landmark moments that you remember from the coaching?
Okay, I'll say one of my first coaching sessions. I think it was my very first coaching session, and then one of my sessions with you. So my very first coaching session, I believe it was with John. Is that right? Yeah. Um, and I did one of my pieces. It was like maybe the third or fourth time I had done it in that session in that hour, and he'd had me do an exercise where I just like just started bawling. Like it was just all the emotions just rose up to the surface. And I like, as that emotion was coming up, I like started the piece, and he was like, I finished it and he was like, if you do that, you're gonna get some attention. Like you're gonna get attention in the room. Like, wow. And so I was like, oh my gosh, it's my first time, like, I mean, not my first time doing it for him, but like after just like a few tweaks and like really letting myself crack open and be vulnerable, it was just like, oh, it's there. The gold nugget is there. And I just need to be able to like expose it and let it be seen. And so that was really validating, especially in like one of the first sessions, to really get a nugget already from the coaching. And just like I'd never even like gone in a room before and done it. So I was like, well, am I allowed to do these exercises in the room? Like, is it weird? Like, and so it was just kind of like getting that feedback that like everybody has their own process. Like sometimes they want to see it, sometimes not. But like if they get to see that process and see you crack open, then like that's really cool too. So do what you feel comfortable with. But getting to do that with him was cool. And then one session with you, I remember you had me do one of my roles. I think it was for Colored Girls. You had me do it as a drunk person on the corner. And oh my gosh, the discoveries that I got from that. That's what I meant when I was like, I didn't realize I needed to say, like, that's what I was saying in that way. And it was just like, who knew that doing this role drunk, like playing it drunk would have helped me discover things. Like I didn't know to do that on my own. And so like obviously if you're like a seasoned actor and you just like your thing, your craft and everything, like that's great. But like just for somebody like me who just like had not had that experience and really just got to play in the room with you with like zero stakes. It wasn't just you weren't judging me, you were just there to help me and you were purely on my side. It was just like, okay, I get to play and figure this out and then see how it goes. And so that was really fun to just have that safe space.
Yeah, you were having fun. You were having fun. Um, and it's funny because it's kind of a tit for tat, meaning like when you have fun, it kind of sparks more inspiration for me, and probably any coach you work with. It's like, wow, what if we, right? Or could we try the inspiration is flowing, and sometimes as the artist, you just have to put that spirit out there because you never know what it could spark in someone else or whatever. So it's like a
Right.
positive loop upwards.
Yeah, yeah. I was a bit nervous till I was like, oh, like, would it be too like, is it gonna be too much to have like all of these cooks in the kitchen kind of like directing me and telling me? But I think there's you take what you can and then you release the rest. And so it was like because I was able to really do that, that was super valuable for me to be like, okay, like that really helped me. And like, oh, that one didn't serve me as well, but like this did. And so just being able to like piece what worked really well for me and but then also saying yes, not being afraid to just like go all in and see what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think when you go all in and you just commit, you burn the bridge, that's actually when you become smarter. You go, "Oh yeah, okay, that's not really resonating for me right now, but oh, that makes a lot of sense." As opposed to if you're kind of one foot in, one foot out with the commitment level, then you're
Right.
gonna almost control it too much. So you always had that full commitment spirit, and that allowed you to really easily discern what's helping and what's not.
Right.
Because we all get that. As if we're getting any coaching from a mentor or anything like this, it's not like everything the mentor says or suggests is going to be gold nuggets, but those gold nuggets are clear when they come because, yeah, you're playing full out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, geez, we've covered everything. What else is there to cover? What did we miss? Anything?
Oh no, I don't think so.
You're
Gosh,
going to London.
I am moving to London. Oh my gosh.
If you're in LA, buy Jibby's plants.
Yes, please. Oh
Um,
my God.
well, yeah, I mean, look, this audience. you were them a couple months ago, right?
Yeah,
These people who
yeah.
are super serious and excited about growing their craft. Um, what would you say to them as they look ahead to their next drama school audition?
Ooh, wow. I
More than
would,
what you've already said, which has been
yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much. But I would say as like parting words, take it day by day. Don't try to look too far ahead. Don't try to control the whole process. Really just take it step by step. Like, what is it that you can do just for today? Like, can you read something? Can you learn something? Can you research? And can you rest? Because rest is also important in the process, not to burn out. And so just recognizing and tapping into yourself, like, what is it that I need for this moment, and how can I benefit the most from just being authentic to where I am in the process. It's a nerve-wracking process, it really is. But making sure to have that balance of like taking care of yourself, taking care of your needs, and then going all in and really doing your absolute best. Like if you just lay it all out there and give everything that you've got, like you will have no regrets.
that is awesome. Beautifully said, Jibby. Thank you so much.
You
This is
so
awesome.
glad I could share this.
Yeah, it was cool to reflect, and I'm just so excited for you. You know, we're in touch. Obviously, whenever you go over there, we got friends, and you know, you'll be welcomed warmly. So, can't wait to hear about everything.
Yeah, keep in touch.
All right, we will talk soon. Okay.
Sounds
All right.
good.
Bye, Jibby.
Bye.